Imagine a world where your every move is watched, your every decision made for you, and your very life hangs by a thread. Sounds like a nightmare, right? But what if I told you that this is the world that captivated millions of us on the big screen? Welcome to the roller coaster ride of teenage dystopia in movies and pop culture. In this video, we're diving deep into the fascinating journey of teenage dystopia, from its meteoric rise to its controversial fall. So buckle up, because it's going to be a wild ride. So, how did we get so enamored with these grim, high-stakes worlds where teenagers are often the reluctant heroes? Let's rewind the clock and find out. Believe it or not, the concept of dystopia has been around for quite some time. Classics like Lord of the Flies and A Clockwork Orange laid the groundwork, but it wasn't until the late 2000s that the genre really took off in the realm of young adult fiction. But what was it that made these stories resonate so deeply with both teenagers and adults alike? Firstly, the societal anxieties of the time played a huge role. Themes of surveillance, authoritarian regimes, and the loss of individuality struck a chord in a post-9/11 world. Secondly, the allure of rebellion. Let's face it, who doesn't love a good underdog story? Teenagers rebelling against a corrupt system not only made for an exciting plot, but also served as a metaphorical middle finger to the establishment. Enter the Hunger Games, Divergent, and The Maze Runner. These franchises became the poster children for teenage dystopia, raking in billions at the box office and creating a cultural phenomenon. The stakes were high, the characters relatable, and the worlds both terrifying and fascinating. But as with all good things, there comes a point where the magic starts to fade. But before we get into that, let's talk about when teenage dystopia was at its peak. So, we've explored the rise of teenage dystopia, but what about its pinnacle? When did these stories evolve from mere popularity to becoming a defining aspect of our culture? The years spanning 2012 to 2015 stand out as the golden era of teenage dystopia. This period saw the release of not just the Hunger Games sequels, but also the Divergent and Maze Runner series. Bookstores couldn't keep them on the shelves, and movie theaters were consistently sold out. It was a time when the genre was not just popular, it was a phenomenon. But what was it about this specific period that made it so extraordinary? Why did these stories resonate so deeply with both young and adult audiences alike? It was a confluence of factors that created a perfect storm. These stories were not just about survival. They delved into themes of identity, love, sacrifice, and moral ambiguity. They tackled complex issues like class struggle, totalitarianism, and the ethics of war, all wrapped up in a package that was not only accessible to teenagers, but also deeply resonant with adults. The genre's influence extended far beyond books and movies. There was merchandise, fan fiction, and even theme park attractions. Teenage dystopia had permeated every facet of pop culture. It wasn't just a trend, it was a full-blown cultural movement that inspired a generation. While the new Hunger Games movie is generating significant buzz, it's crucial to remember that it's building on an existing legacy rather than creating a new wave. It serves as a testament to the enduring impact of the genre, but it's not necessarily a sign of a resurgence. However, as with all cultural phenomena, there comes a point of saturation and decline. What led to the waning interest in this once dominant genre? As we turn our gaze from the zenith, we find ourselves amidst the first signs of change, a prelude to a gradual descent. After reaching dizzying heights, the landscape of teenage dystopia began to shift. The once captivating tales of rebellion and resistance started to echo with a note of predictability, signaling a change in the winds of pop culture. As we edged past the mid-2010s, signs of fatigue began to show. The box office numbers started to dwindle, and the once fervent excitement around book releases began to cool. The market was becoming saturated with too many similar narratives, and the novelty that once made the genre so thrilling was wearing thin. But saturation was just one piece of the puzzle. What were the other factors that contributed to the decline of teenage dystopia? Audiences began to seek out new experiences and narratives. The real world was changing rapidly, and the themes of teenage dystopia no longer resonated as strongly. The rise of social media and the changing political landscape started to influence the type of content that people wanted to consume. Stories with more nuanced themes, or those that offered escapism rather than a mirror to society's darker aspects, became more popular. With the rush to capitalize on the genre's popularity, the quality of storytelling began to suffer. Many films and books started to feel formulaic, and the audience's desire for fresh, innovative content wasn't being met. The critical reception grew lukewarm, and the passionate discussions that once ignited fan forums and social media started to fizzle out. And so, as the fervor quieted, the genre's pulse slowed. But the echoes of its influence still resonate in the halls of pop culture. The question remains, not if, but how. These narratives continue to shape the stories we cling to in a world that's ever-changing. While the clamor around teenage dystopia has quieted, its reverberations are felt even now. The genre's impact lingers, its themes and archetypes ingrained in the fabric of modern storytelling. In the aftermath of the genre's retreat, a new landscape has emerged. One where the dystopian elements are woven into new genres, creating hybrids that speak to a generation facing very different challenges than those of the past. The Hunger Games saga, with its recent addition, serves as a bridge between the genre's storied past and its uncertain future. It's a legacy that continues to inspire, even as it adapts to the tastes of a new audience seeking both reflection and escape in their narratives. Today's stories have taken the baton from teenage dystopia, running with it into uncharted territories. They blend the dystopian with the fantastical, the realistic with the speculative, showing us that the end of one era is often the birthplace of another. The baton passed on by teenage dystopia has been taken up with vigor. We see its influence in the rise of series like The 100, which merges dystopian survival with deep space exploration, and in films like Ready Player One, where virtual reality becomes the new battleground for humanity. These narratives take the seeds sown by their predecessors and grow lush new stories that push the boundaries of imagination. Even as the genre evolves, the core of what made teenage dystopia resonate remains, a reflection of our fears, our hopes, and the complex journey of growing up. These stories remind us that even in the darkest of futures, the human spirit persists, adapts, and overcomes. Even as the genre morphs and merges, its resonance is undeniable. The themes of power, resistance, and identity continue to thrive in shows like Black Mirror, where technology reflects our darkest selves, or in Westworld, where consciousness and reality are in constant flux. These series carry the torch of dystopia, illuminating the path through our current landscape of uncertainty and change. As we look to the horizon, we see not the shadow of a genre gone by, but the shape of stories yet to come. Stories that will challenge, inspire, and captivate us, just as teenage dystopia once did. We've traversed the landscape of teenage dystopia, from its ascent to prominence to its current, more subdued state. It's been a journey of epic proportions, mirroring the very trials and tribulations of the characters within its stories. Though the feverish pitch of the genre's heyday has mellowed, its impact is indelible. It has left an imprint on our cultural consciousness, shaping how we view heroism, resistance, and the power of the individual. As we peer into the realm of what's next, we see emerging stories that build upon the foundation laid by teenage dystopia. Themes of environmental collapse and digital domination are ripe for exploration, reflecting the new anxieties of our time. Nostalgia plays a compelling role in the genre's endurance. The return to Panem with the new Hunger Games prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and the revisiting of classic dystopian tales through remakes and reboots, such as Fahrenheit 451 and Brave New World, show a yearning for the familiar, even as we seek out new stories. These reimagined classics remind us that the questions posed by teenage dystopia are as relevant now as they were at their inception. The narrative of teenage dystopia may have evolved, but its core questions remain timeless. What does it mean to come of age in a world that seems against you? How do we find hope when all seems lost? These are the questions that will continue to fuel the fires of storytelling for generations to come. As we reflect on these enduring stories, we invite you to like, subscribe, and join the conversation. Share your favorite moments from the world of teenage dystopia and the lessons you've carried with you. Let's keep these stories alive together